everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Awesome Sunday Show. Connor here.
Pat here.
And we have a nice little episode that me and Pat thought of because, Zootopia was just released. And while that's not a Disney Pixar movie, it got us thinking about Disney. And while I think this goes without saying for me, and I think it's for you, I think Pixar is really the highlight of Disney movies.
Pretty much. I mean, ever since they've been established. I mean, Disney has done some great animated films outside of the Pixar division lately. Frozen probably be their most successful one.
Right. Well, Zootopia might not be too far behind.
Well, Zootopia so far is doing really well, but, I think Pixar has produced some of their best of all time.
Yeah, like Pixar's very memorable. Pixar came out at a great time in our age too. I mean, we were, I think, 5 when
4 and 5.
Yeah, 4 and 5 years old when Toy Story 1 came out. So we, at least for us, like Pixar might not be that magical, like studio that would make some great movies as they for someone like as young as that now. That might be actually like the Disney animated studios. But at least for me, like Pixar is like my childhood studio, not even really Disney itself.
Yeah, I mean, we've grown up with it more so than Disney animated films, Yeah.
Like we had our
Overall,
Lion Kings, Aladdins and stuff, but
those came out, still when we were like really young, but I think Pixar has grown with us.
Yeah,
as opposed
exactly.
To that, and I think that I disagree with you that Pixar doesn't, have the same feel for kids that are that age now. I think that they still do, and they still are. Some of the releases that have been coming out, they're still,
but like
ones that kids can really enjoy and feel mesmerized by.
I get what you're saying. Like, I'm not saying it's 100%, but it was way different for us because it started when we were at that age.
Yeah,
and not to mention too, like those movies that were coming out that were like really some of the best animated movies of all time, and they still do make those. Those were fresh and new, while as like today you get, while Inside Out is a fantastic movie, The Good Dinosaur did not review well.
Yeah, they've made some that are
Brave was not that good,
have
even though it
been
won
poorly
Best
done
Picture.
compared to other ones.
Cars 2, like they've made some duds as well. Whereas like it was
duds compared to their quality, they still did well. Most of them critically, fairly well.
I mean, Good Dinosaur fared critically well, but not commercially nor audience wise.
Right. They've had some that haven't performed up to the Pixar standard set by the earlier years.
Yeah, and that is a legitimate. That is a legitimate standard. It's the Pixar standard. Like that's I don't want to say it's a coined term, but it's a term that I've heard by multiple people.
Yeah, it's pretty much the animation standard. It's like Pixar's gold level. Pixar standard is like Academy.
That's what
standard
DreamWorks has been fighting for.
Yeah.
Like they want that. They're like hungry for it. It's like Burger King want to be the #1 fast food restaurant. It's just like it's one of those things like you can totally tell. And while DreamWorks has gotten there with like the Kung Fu Panda movies and the Shreks and the How to Train Your Dragons.
Yeah, they still haven't reached that level.
I don't think they ever will. Madagascar, which is one of their most successful franchises, is nowhere near the level of quality as the Toy Story, which is Pixar's most successful franchise.
Right.
Although Kung Fu Panda, I think that franchise is excellent. Kung Fu Panda 2, I think, is one of the best animated movies of all time, but that's not the podcast. That'll be a different podcast. This was more of your idea, actually, so you can go first.
Well, to be fair, you kicked it off because you started a Twitter poll for the Couch Review asking which Toy Story movie people wanted to review or was their favorite.
Yeah.
And then it got me to this, that we should do a podcast on.
That's why we work together.
Yeah, that's exactly why we work together. So this episode is actually going to be, not only is it going to be Pixar, but it's also going to be the start of us releasing 2 episodes a week.
That's right.
One that's more, not comic book, TV show, or movie related. So this will be the first one. I think it's a great way to kick it off.
Yeah, it is, because, I mean,
everybody loves Pixar.
Yeah, I've never met a person that's like, I really just don't like Pixar movies, because everybody likes Pixar movies.
It's impossible not.
Yeah, there might be an individual movie that they don't like, but as overall a studio, it's one of those studios where like you see the name, and while yes, there has been some duds, you can confidently go thinking you're going to see a good movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Like 9 out of 10 times.
Oh yeah,
pretty much.
Exactly. So yeah, this is our top 5 Disney Pixar movies. So we're not following the Watch Mojo standard of one movie per franchise because there's not really that many franchises.
Not really. There's some that are just solo. I mean, the only ones that really have sequels are obviously Toy Stories. Monsters Inc. has one. Finding Nemo's having one. Cars.
The Incredibles.
The
will be having
Incredibles
one too.
will.
Yeah.
But so far, for now, there's very few. I mean, they've released 16 movies so far. They have a 17th coming out with Finding Dory. But yeah, not too many actual franchises.
Yeah. Toy Story is the only like franchise they kind of have. But like
it's their only trilogy,
Yeah.
which will soon have a fourth.
I don't even know if franchise is like a proper term because each movie is so different from the other.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like a Marvel franchise, where Marvel has, 13 or something like that, but they're all those individual characters fall into the same franchise, whereas like their movies, they're under the Pixar umbrella, but they don't coexist together. I mean, there are some Easter eggs that are in every single Pixar movie.
There is a theory of a Pixar universe,
such as the Pizza Planet truck showing up amongst other things. That's the major, the main one. But still. So yeah, we're not going to do the Watch Mojo. I agree with that.
Yeah, because certain movies are just too good to keep out.
Exactly. All right, but yeah, it was
like Cars 2.
It was actually really tough to nail down 5.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a much harder decision. I feel like it was actually harder to make this list than the horror movie list.
Yeah, absolutely. And that just goes to show like the quality that Pixar has put out. So I'm going to start with mine, and the first 4 are not really in a particular order. I mean,
mine are in order.
They're kind of in order, but it kind of changes from time to time. But my number 1 is dead set all the time. So I'm going to start with number 5 is Inside Out. While I love the hell out of Inside Out, I think it's one of Pixar's best ever, and just a masterclass in animated films. Right now it's number 5 for now. I've only seen it once, so probably on repeated viewings it'll change. But I mean, that movie was amazing. It was their most mature one. It won an Academy Award, well deservingly so.
Oh, absolutely.
And put them into kind of another territory with the subject matter that they tackled it and the way they did it. It shows that Pixar still got it. I mean, without a doubt. And that voice. One thing Pixar always does well is their voice casting. Yeah,
they don't pick celebrity. That's a thing that DreamWorks has never really properly tackled. Is they don't just pick celebrity voice actors to get the celebrity voice actor. They find someone who is a celebrity to promote the movie, essentially having big names,
but they have to fit into the role.
And I'm telling you, the casting is so good. It's so good.
It really is, and that's one of their biggest strengths, aside from just story writing in general. And then the second one, I know this is probably your number 1, is Up. That movie is. I'll let you talk about it more, but like, that's a terrific movie. The first 15, 20 minutes of it are just brutal.
Yeah, you feel so many different emotions.
It is so brutal, and Pixar movies, usually happy. They never got to that level, and then that came out of nowhere for me and just like wrecked me up until Toy Story 3. But I still think it's one of the saddest 15 minutes of any movie I've ever seen in my life. 15, 20 minutes, whatever. But then they pick it up again, and the character development in it, I think, is awesome.
That's something that's actually my favorite. As much as I love the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie, it's the characters of that movie that's my favorite. I'll go into it when I talk about it, but the characters are fantastic.
My next one is The Incredibles, which is an excellent Pixar movie and an excellent superhero movie, too.
It is. It's very good.
Because it's based on a super family, and then you got Samuel L. Jackson as Mr. Incredible's partner. And then you have a villain who's set up because he didn't have any powers and he couldn't be Mr. Incredible's sidekick. And if you'll notice, there's some similarities between the powers and like Marvel characters and DC characters as well.
Yeah, a lot of stuff. There's
similar powers, but it works well, and like the characters aside from their powers are strong through the connection with their family.
Yeah.
You know, the mom I think probably holds together the family for the most and keeps Mr. Incredible down, or not down, but centered. You know, because he has a shitty job. He's miserable. He's got this kid bothering him.
Yeah, a bad job compared to what he used to do.
Yeah, compared to what he used to do, which is full-time superhero. And then I think Samuel L. Jackson as the supporting voice is amazing. Sharon, where is my super suit?
Yeah. That was probably one of the that was. I mean, everybody again with Pixar, everyone's always cast properly and or like efficiently or however you want to put it. But like, there's always like that casting choice where it's like you need this person and we have to get that person, and it's Samuel L. Jackson.
And he was amazing. I mean, the whole cast. It was written, directed, and produced by Brad Bird.
Yeah,
and I think it's his masterpiece. Unfortunately, you know, it led to him having, you know, he reached a standard, and there was hype for Tomorrowland that did not pan out well.
Yeah, but that's one movie that out of
like
4 or 5 really successful ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Mission Impossible
4, which is the best one.
Yeah, was outstanding. I mean, I haven't personally seen it, but all I hear is that it's probably the best one.
It is out of the 5 Mission Impossibles, it's the best one.
Yeah, but like this movie was amazing, and he was in the running to direct some of the Star Wars movies, which still can be possible. I mean, they've really only announced, other than the trilogy, 3.
Yeah,
and there's an Incredibles 2 coming out, and I think 3 years in 2019. So I'm really looking forward to that. This is a movie that people have been begging for a sequel for a long time.
It's a sequel for the fans. You know Pixar is like, all right, people have been asking for this. Let's go ahead and do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then my number 2 of all time, this one's pretty steady at number 2, is Monsters, Inc. I love the shit out of Monsters, Inc. And I really liked Monsters University. Obviously, it wasn't as good as Monsters, Inc.
No.
But I think it was a good prequel. I mean, again, the voice cast. John Goodman and Billy Crystal together as the 2 main characters were just brilliant.
Yeah, great. I mean, Billy Crystal, he's good in anything, but again, like John Goodman as Sully is
perfect.
He is Sully.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, it's a real interesting concept and something, you know, every kid is afraid of monsters, you know, under their bed or in their closet at night, and they took that idea, ran with it, and then built a whole universe on it, pretty much, and, you know, a separate world where you get to see the lives of these monsters that are scaring kids.
Very imaginative world.
Very imaginative, and, you know, again, there's some real sad parts in this, but you can see, you know, another thing is the character development with the bond that grows and increases between Mike and Sully. And towards the end, they switch roles. Sully goes from being the scarer, and Mike as his, like, manager, more or less. Once they switch from collecting screams for power and they switch to collecting laughs, Sully becomes Mike's manager, and Mike is, like, the star of the company.
Yeah.
And then Randall, I think, is a great villain.
Yeah, who plays him?
To be honest, I forget. I'll look right now. But I think he was a great villain.
It's someone obviously famous.
Yeah, a great contrast to Goodman and Sully. Let me see.
Yeah, because while Billy Crystal and John Goodman...
Steve Buscemi,
yes. It was someone famous. Like, I was like, it was on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, like... John Goodman and Billy Crystal, while their voices sound completely different, but they had the same feeling. They're both uplifting, joyous. While John Goodman's a little more worrisome, and Mike is a little more, or Billy Crystal is a little more outgoing.
Yeah,
they both had the same effect. While Steve Buscemi is perfect as the villain, just because his voice, you're like, oh man, something's like coming around. Like it's just. That is people don't give enough credit to Pixar casting.
Yeah, because their casting is as good as, if not better than Marvel's. Yeah, and Marvel's casting is
dead on,
like spot on as you can get.
That's the thing, like, that's one thing I don't think people appreciate, because there's such a bad stigma of, like, of course there's celebrity voice actors in this animated movie, like when. There are real voice actors out there that probably would never get a movie role.
Yeah.
For just television.
I mean, even then, they still got some lesser names that still do well, more as like minor characters, but they still get, not huge megastars in.
Like, you would never hear, like, if there was an animated Disney movie that made it to the theaters, besides Batman Mask of the Phantasm, because that tied in with the television show.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I doubt, like, if another animated Batman movie were ever hit the movie theaters, I don't think Kevin Conroy would ever be
Probably
in it.
not. They need some star power, as at least as one of the 1 or 2, 3 main characters to get that attraction to it.
Yeah.
And then to see, if they get certain big names are very picky with their roles. So for some big names, you see them attached to this, they're like, oh, it must be good if, they're willing to do it. Granted, there are some people who would just take it as a paycheck, but, as long as they don't phone it in, still works out well. And then my top one, this I kind of cheated with because I put the Toy Story trilogy. Because it's so hard to pick from those 3 movies.
I would let that pass.
It's so. I mean, if I had to pick one of them, I would pick Toy Story 1, just because, it started Pixar. It kicked Pixar off. It was their first release, and it was just like a wonderful movie, just absolutely outstanding. And then it started this franchise. So if I had to, I'd pick number 1. Although I think they're like. All 3 of them are perfect, in my opinion. So, it's so incredibly hard to choose from those 3. And we're doing a couch review of Toy Story, so definitely listen to that.
Spoilers for a 20-year-old movie.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Toy Story by now, how do you live through life? How do you go through a daily life not seeing Toy Story?
No, you deserve to be spoiled if you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. But, like, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen, the 2 major characters as Woody and Buzz Lightyear respectively, like, just perfect. Again, like, Tom Hanks is good in everything he's ever done, but this is one of his greatest roles, and in my opinion, it's Tim Allen's greatest role, even way better than Home Improvement.
Dude,
even
Tim
though I
Allen,
love Home Improvement, but like this is
I
his
agree.
career highlight.
Yeah, I mean, the Santa Claus one was good.
Yeah.
After that,
Yeah, he hasn't really done much except for be Dentino's friend, and smuggle cocaine. But he,
well, he hasn't done that in years.
Still,
not Dentino, Tim Allen.
yes, got to clarify on that. But like the Toy Story franchise is just one of the greatest trilogies of all time, in my opinion.
Absolutely, and they're making a 4th one.
And they are making a 4th one.
You know what? At first I was kind of reluctant to be like, I don't know, but honestly, like all 3 of them are so good. Like, keep going.
Yeah.
Why stop? If that's the quality you're gonna give me every time, then I don't care what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rashida Jones is gonna be one of the co-writers on it. She's brilliant. And then we got John Lasseter coming back to direct, and he's directed not just 3 of the Toy Story movies, but he's directed Cars 2, that's not so great, but he's been heavily involved in Pixar from the start, and 9 out of 10 times he produces quality, so it gives me hope.
Yeah.
And Toy Story the trilogy, with the exception of number 3, which is at 99%, the first 2 movies are 100%.
Yeah, and I mean, like, but also too, like, I would, if Toy Story 1 or 2 were to come out now, I think they would be at a 98 or 99.
Yeah.
Because there's always that douchebag that just doesn't like it.
Right.
Like, I don't think they did this properly.
Yeah.
Like, you're such a freaking asshole. Like,
but like, it's, in my opinion, one of the greatest trilogies of all time. They're some of the greatest, if not the greatest, animated movies of all time.
Yeah.
In my opinion, and I constantly rewatch them. And in fact, I just bought all 3 on DVD the other day. Well worth my money. Watched Toy Story 1 again this morning. Probably going to watch Toy Story 2 and 3 next few days. They just have unlimited rewatchability, and I feel most Pixar movies do that.
They're really easy to connect to because what kid didn't play with toys?
Exactly.
Even if you're a kid playing with toys, it's amazing, and when you're an adult, you're like, I used to play with toys.
Exactly.
And they always find a way to put in like little toys here, like that you used to play with as a kid. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah. Or like fiddle them around a little bit to make them into the Pixar universe. Not to violate copyright, but you can tell what it is. But yeah, the toy part especially hit home with me because this came out when we were 4 and 5, like that's all you did when you're that
Yeah.
age. Played with toys, you created all these stories in your mind playing with them, which you see Andy doing.
Yep.
And then you see the toys, getting through these adventures on their own.
Yeah.
So it really hits home. And in Toy Story 1, especially, there's a lot of references to other Disney movies. Like when they're going to Pizza Planet, they're singing The Lion King. They're singing Hakuna Matata.
Yep.
And there's other references throughout there. And there's, say what you will about puns. I can enjoy a good pun. There's a lot of really
Sometimes
good puns in Toy Story.
when a pun does something right, or when a pun is good, it did something right.
Yeah.
You know?
And there's a lot of good puns in Toy Story. So yeah, that's my list.
It's a good list, man. Real good list. Definitely, mine's definitely different. Some from your list are on, some aren't. But let's get into it. So these are in order. Like these are legitimately in order from 5 to 1. Number 5 is Toy Story 2. Toy Story 2. A lot of when you see for sequels to movies, what's the number one reason a sequel fails?
It's a rehash.
It's a rehash.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. And it's why would you pay money to see the only time rehashes work is for slasher movies. That's it.
Yeah.
It's the only time I actually like rehashing. But for anything else that actually has a legitimate story, if a movie has a legitimate story, not just a body count, like Toy Story, which is an incredible story, a sequel has to progress that same story. That's why superhero sequels are always mostly better than the first movies.
Yeah.
Is because they actually progress the story, and that's what Toy Story 2 did. When I saw Toy Story 2, I was aware of stories in movies at a point. I think we were 8 or 9, so I could while. I still thought Batman and Robin was good at that age. I could still tell when a movie is clearly better than another movie.
Right.
And that's Toy Story 2 is one of the first movies I can really look back on and be like, I knew that movie was better, and I liked it.
It's one of the
better. greatest
sequels of all time.
Yeah.
And it's the perfect sequel, really.
Yep, it is. And every again, they almost poke fun at rehashing because Buzz Lightyear is back to what he was in the first movie, but it's not the same Buzz Lightyear. It's a new Buzz Lightyear.
Right.
So the old Buzz Lightyear is getting annoyed. So you kind of get almost a feeling of he finally understands how Woody felt, which is why they're much better friends in Toy Story 3. But we're gonna get to that movie. Hint. So it just really progresses the story. The extra characters they throw in aren't just throwaway characters. They actually are detrimental to the story.
Right.
Zurg, while he might not be as important as the counterparts to Woody in that toy line, like Jesse and Bullseye. I can't remember the other toy.
Stinky Pete?
Yes.
Or Phil? Or something like that. Stinky something.
Something, yeah. But Zurg, while he's not as important to the story, he adds the comedic element. So it really actually is just important to the movie overall. So that movie just did everything right in the right way. It made something that you couldn't imagine getting better, much better.
Right.
So that's why Toy Story 2 to me is superior to Toy Story 1. And for number 4, oh wait,
one thing I forgot to mention with Toy Story, it had one of my favorite video games based on a movie of all time for the Super Nintendo and Sega era, the Toy Story game. That game was hard as hell, but it was a lot of fun.
I only ever played it for Sega Game Gear. I never owned a Sega Game Gear, but my buddy John had a Sega Game Gear, and we used to play it all the time. We used to share it as if we had a PlayStation 2 to share, play 2-player games. We'd share a Game Gear, yeah. Mega Man for Game Gear is actually one of the hardest games ever made too. So shout out to Game Gear, underrated handheld console. So anyway, number 4 for me is Ratatouille. I really like Ratatouille because while it's kind of the story itself isn't very original. You get it's the liar revealed story. Well, how many times have you seen movies? And actually, Doug Walker on the Nostalgia Critic does his he does DreamWorks January and Disney December, which is December's Disney and January is DreamWorks. He always points out, he goes, I can't stand the liar reveal story, and I agree. And this movie does have it as far as someone not being who they really are and someone finds out. But they do it in a way that's not rehashing older animated movies that have done it so many times to death. Because usually in those liar revealed stories, everyone like the guy goes away then comes back. And this one, it's almost accepted from the start. Like while there is some tension, it gets quickly resolved. But the ending is such a great payoff.
Yeah, definitely.
To a movie that started off really well. That's why it is number 4. Because like I will admit, the middle is a little dragging, and I know I'm bringing up some negative things about the movie, but it is my number 4. It is my number 4 favorite Pixar movie because of one, Patton Oswalt is absolutely fantastic in this movie, and it's the beginning and the end that are just so. The beginning and the end are perfect. The head chef is hysterical. The chef that Patton Oswalt talks to is absolutely funny, even though he's not technically real.
Yeah.
Linguini's a funny character too. So again, I know I just brought up a couple negatives, but the movie is absolutely worth watching. It's got really great Pixar elements to it. Number 3, which was on your list, Inside Out. I can't really say anymore like what we already said. Besides, like we said before, impeccable casting. What I really like about the movie is they don't really shy away from like certain aspects of like emotion. Like I thought maybe they were gonna like. When I saw the coming attractions, I was like, "Oh, it's gonna be happy and sad the whole time," which it was, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "They're not gonna like feed into anger and jealousy and fear." I was like, I thought they were gonna put those as side characters. And then I saw the cast, and I was like, "That is such a great cast." Lewis Black as Anger,
it's really an ensemble cast.
Which is Lewis Black's probably his best role in a movie ever.
You can't get somebody more angry than Lewis Black.
Bill Hader as Fear. And what's her name from
Phyllis from The Office. I always forget her last name, but
it's Mindy.
Mindy Kaling.
Mindy Kaling as Jealousy,
mm-hmm.
And then
Phyllis was Sadness.
And Amy Poehler was Joy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, so they have such a great cast. Like, it'd be a shame to see these characters put away to the side. At least some of them. None of them were.
Right.
And that was like really what
it was
made
really well balanced.
So well balanced. And Lewis Black is actually used to his full potential without using curse words, which is hysterical.
I wonder how many they had to cut out, or how many tries they had.
There's
to take
definitely something that
so he would cut out.
He definitely dropped an F-bomb in the studio. Yeah. And just like I love the human characters too, like the girl is so relatable. So are the parents. It's for a movie that follows emotions. It's the most human movie Pixar's ever made.
Yeah, pretty much. And Bing Bong was the real MVP.
Yep.
R.I.P.
And so what was it? It was number 5 for you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, number 3 for me. I mean, that's an excellent movie. That movie was I paid like $7.99 to rent it with Comcast on demand. I was like kind of scared to like. Is it really worth $8? Totally worth it.
It was worth what
I would have paid $24.
Yeah, it was definitely worth it.
Yeah, it's really good. All right, number 2, Toy Story 3. Toy Story 2 I thought would be the tip of the mountain, and it wasn't. It was the middle. Toy Story 3 did everything. Unreal.
And it was so worth the wait.
Yeah. So good. And like, to me, I know some people do complain about this, but I love this aspect. This is actually the darkest Toy Story movie, not in terms of it is in that way as well, but I don't mean in terms of like story, but I just mean in terms of colors in general.
Yeah.
The other Toy Stories are all really bright and vibrant, and even at scenes at night, there's still like neon colors and stuff like that, or bright colors somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
In this movie, there's just a lot of grays and dark greens, like especially because like the evil toys that are running the daycare, the scenes that they're in, which there's a lot. The villains are never brushed aside. Each villain has a personality, and I love that. And they don't shy, and that's one thing that Pixar has a huge benefit of is even their side characters have personality, which gives them depth.
Right.
And I think actually Toy Story 3 probably does that the best out of all three of the Toy Stories. Um, because like again with Toy Story 2, this is more of a nitpick and not a criticism, but like the penguin toy in the beginning of Toy Story 2,
Yeah.
he's kind of there and he's not. And in Toy Story 3, like I feel like every toy that has dialogue is important to the story somehow.
Yeah, they all really contribute.
Yeah, exactly. And not going to give it away, but that ending though is the end
shit.
where you think it's going to end and then the real end.
Yeah.
Cuz as you know what it is, it's like another criticism people like to point to the movie is that like, dude, what 18-year-old kid would ever be that attached to his toys? And granted, I wasn't either, and that's not a bad argument, but the argument, it's not about Andy getting rid of his toys. It's about like us growing up.
Yeah.
Like with the movie, that like it's
we grew up with him.
We grew up with
and we're
him,
moving on from,
and I'm pretty sure in their
older
minds
sentiment.
they thought this was going to be the last one. But I think it was so successful now they're saying a 4, which is fine by me. Keep going. And it was like, but also passing on to a new generation.
Mm-hmm.
It was
That's pretty much what the ending scene was when he's giving that little girl his toys.
And it was very like, and it's also too with Toy Story 3. It's more than the toys. It's actually a huge theme of friendship, because like when he's younger, his best friends are his toys, Woody and Buzz. But then like, how many times have you had friends when you're younger, but then you grow up and you drift apart?
Exactly.
People go away to college, people get jobs, and that's kind of like that's the theme of it. Is like Andy's like, while he will love his toys, he's got to let they got to separate somehow, and it's such a good commentary on just how life naturally works.
Yeah, and one thing they did along the way of all three is you're losing old friends, but they're always gaining new ones.
Exactly,
it shows that just because some people are being left behind or just growing apart, you're still going to meet new people who can become your friends.
Yep.
And friendship is definitely the biggest theme.
Yep.
They have there.
And like I think that's what carried the movie so well throughout that, and that's how each movie improved, is because friendship is the main theme, and like that theme just like, is built upon, and it's like perfected in 3. Do I think Toy Story 4 is going to be as good as 3? I don't think so, but like I thought that about 3.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think about 2 because I was too young to really realize that, but like I was like, all right, 3's coming out, not going to be as good as 2, and it was better. And like I wouldn't be surprised if they did it again.
Yeah, and man, that really hit the feels.
Yeah, it did
hard.
Good, such a mature movie that's supposed to be geared towards kids.
Yeah,
but yet kids still love it. And my number 1 is, you already know what it is.
Yeah,
it's Up. Up is no such thing as a perfect movie, but if I had to name at least like 3 of them that I can say are legitimately perfect, and you can't like I can't even argue with it. It's Up. Like Up is just such a good movie. The first 15 minutes, 20 minutes are awesome. But my favorite part about it, and like I said, like the reason why I'm skipping over that is because we touched on it before, which you obviously know. But my favorite part about it is, you know how like I said in Toy Story 3, each toy has like a personality.
Yeah.
And which gives them a little more depth to the movie. The freaking bird in this movie has personality.
Oh, Kevin, yeah.
Kevin, who's a she, has personality, which gives the stupid bird, some sort of depth.
That you really wouldn't expect.
You wouldn't expect. Doug, the dog, who they nailed down the personality of a dog to a T.
Perfectly. I feel like if I had one of those devices and put it around my dog, it would be the same exact thing. Talking to you, I love you, squirrel.
Yeah.
And then stop, and then go back to it.
I was like, exactly, yeah. Like, that's what you would imagine a dog saying. And then the one dog, the main dog of the pack, you think he's going to have this, like, dark, raspy voice, and it's just, like, sped up to, like, a really high pitch. Yeah. It was hysterical. The only thing that people like to criticize is, like, in the beginning of the movie, they follow like the young couple. They follow the explorer, who was like probably around 20, 30 years older than them at the time because they're children. when they meet up, he somehow looks younger than the old man,
Yeah.
who was a kid at the time. So some people are like, that doesn't really make sense, but they're also in an area where it's not supposed to be there.
Right.
So like, there's a theory that like time slows down there. Like people have like had like different reasonings. I can understand if that's like, but that's more of a nitpick. It doesn't matter. It's a movie, and like, it's friggin' phenomenal. Yeah, go see it if you haven't watched it. I don't know how well it did financially. I don't imagine it reaching like Toy Story numbers or Monsters University or Monsters Inc. numbers.
It made $731 million. So
that's still a lot.
That's pretty great.
That's
that's
way
pretty phenomenal. Actually,
that's way better than I would ever imagine. Like I was thinking maybe the 300 million, whereas like it probably made like 100 million here and then like 200 million overseas.
Yeah, no, it it made $731 million.
That's more
which
than,
is fantastic for any movie, but for like an animated movie, that's insane.
That's better than a lot of Marvel movies.
That's true. It is better than Marvel and DC movies. Better than a lot of major movies.
Yeah,
as it is.
That's insane. That blew me away. I didn't know that.
And it won 2 Academy Awards. One for Best Animated Feature.
That I knew.
And then Best Original Score. And it's a masterclass film.
It is.
That's what it is. Like, there's no doubt about it.
I think it's like, for me, when people like say like, what are the best animated movies ever made? Not just my favorite Pixar movies. Up is always number 1. Number 2 is Kung Fu Panda 2. I love that movie. But yeah, like that's a different list for a different day. But Up is just so good. The story is so original. You never ever hear of a story like that. It's so good. It's just excellent.
Yeah. I mean, there's really, it's just another example of how great Pixar movies are. Granted, there are some duds, but it just goes to show the high level of quality that they can constantly churn out.
Yep.
That
is like, Up to me is like the essence of like what Pixar is, like just how wacky they can get. You know, because if you really think about it, like their movies are kind of, to me, like the most least original movie is The Incredibles, but that's intentionally, and it's so unoriginal to a point where it's original because they're just taking powers from different superheroes,
right?
To like, and just spinning, but like what's so original, it's the family. So like there's something to draw you in from like taking from other sources, but it's not like DC and Marvel's never done that to each other.
Right, exactly.
So like that's what draws you in. So it's actually kind of like an advantage, which they use. But like again, but the Pixar just bleeds originality.
Yeah, they do, and they do it really well. And they have like, Up is a perfect example of like some really deep, sad things and how they balance that with character development and then some great happy scenes and a lot of laughs.
Yep.
Each way. And they just excel at that better than, so many other companies and so many other movies. And it's just quality and a lot of the same staff work on each one, which almost, like John Lasseter has been their most involved writer, director, producer, everything of the sort. But even some of their voice cast, Andrew Stanton, who's co-directed, has written and produced in some. He's also had a couple characters throughout them. And then, so bringing on the same people who have a great track record just keeps, making better and better product. And that's perfect
Why
thinking
fix what's not
there.
broken?
Yeah, exactly. And then one of my favorite people that they keep bringing back, who's composed and written songs for a lot of them, is Randy Newman.
Yeah.
Which is one thing I forgot to mention when talking about Toy Story. His scores and songs for Toy Story, the whole franchise, are amazing, but like You've Got a Friend in Me is a timeless classic.
I think it's the best song, their best Pixar song.
Yeah, it's, and they use music really well throughout it. I mean, there's really not enough good things you can say about Pixar, with the exception of Cars 2, pretty much. Like, that's their worst one, in my opinion.
It's bad.
It's not good. I think that one was a cash grab instead of, like,
yep,
a great idea they had for a sequel. But it's whatever. The majority of their works are just amazing, so it balances out. Can't be perfect all the time.
You can't. No studio is ever perfect all the time, but I mean, Cars 2 is the only one that's ever rated rotten on Rotten Tomatoes from the Pixar movie, which is really, really good.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully Cars 3 does better when it comes out next year. But Finding Dory...
Wait, they are making a Cars 3. That's right.
Yeah, because Cars 2 still made a lot of money, both theatrically, DVD, and merchandise. But right now they have 5 planned films. You got Finding Dory coming out this June, Cars 3 next year, and Coco coming out next year. I don't really know too much about that one, but then 2018 we got Toy Story 4, and then The Incredibles 2 in 2019, and obviously along the way they'll announce more. But just expect great things. Maybe Finding Dory will crack my list. I mean, I loved Finding Nemo; it just didn't make my top 5, but
No, I mean, just because because your favorite movie might not have been in our top 5s, but I mean that doesn't make it any less of a better movie.
Right.
It's just what we like.
Yeah, it's just a matter of opinion. So let us know what your favorite Pixar movies are. If they match ours, different from ours, whatever.
Let us know in the comments below.
Let us know in the comments. Check out Connor's couch review of Toy Story 1, which I'm going to be on, which will go up around the same time.
Yeah.
And then obviously check out his channel for other great reviews, movie-wise. He does them pretty frequently.
Kung Fu Panda 3 got 80 views.
Wow. He does both current movies and he's been doing retro reviews. And he always does Twitter polls on them, so definitely vote for those. And follow his Couch Review Twitter along with
Awesome Sunday Show Twitter.
And the new Awesome Sunday Show Twitter, which is at Awesome Sun Show.
Yeah, I tried doing an Awesome Sunday Show, but that's too many characters. Like, man, like as much as people like Twitter for the limited characters, sometimes it's like
it can be very inconvenient.
Yeah, but whatever.
Yeah, so go follow that. And like we said earlier on in the podcast, we're going to start doing 2 episodes a week. One more general and not comic book related. So if we have some ideas for that, but if you have any suggestions or anything you want us to talk about, or if you want to come on to talk about it, just let us know, and we'll work it out. So yeah, but we're going to keep the comic book stuff to Sunday, pretty much.
Yeah, because it is called Awesome Sunday Show.
Exactly. That's what we started with. That's going to stay. So.
It makes it much easier balancing subjects.
Right. Like we know not everybody's into comic book stuff, but we're into more than that. So
yeah.
That's why we're ramping up the episodes.
Just pushing them out like the Congress pushes out money.
Like we're 21 kids and counting. That's what we're going to start doing with episodes.
Oh,
the Duggar family. Except we're not going to molest our sisters.
Yeah. Like that. It was the dad, right?
No, it was the oldest brother, I think.
Oh, really? And they tried to protect him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, wow. That's pretty...
Yeah, that's fucked up. But like, share, comment, subscribe. Put this podcast on blast. Follow all our Twitter accounts, personal and podcast and Couch Review related.
Yeah, just follow everything we do, please.
Yeah. Even if you don't like the show, just share the shit out of it.
Yeah.
For friendship,
at least just tell people that would like us.
Yeah. There you go.
I just want to start getting paid.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding. Well, not really.
Kind of. But, all right, guys. Thanks for listening.
Peace.